Welcome, welcome, welcome. How much do you need to make in order to purchase a home in Burleson? That is what we're addressing today. How much do we need to earn in order to purchase in Burleson? So we're going to do a deep dive. I'm going to share all of the numbers that it's actually going to take. That's actually going to take in order to purchase in Burleson, Texas. We're going to go through various scenarios when it comes to down payment, when it comes to interest rate. I'm going to show you exactly what goes within a payment, and that way you don't have to guess. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for hopping on. So as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. If you have any questions along the way, of course, this is a great time to bring them up. So let's get into some Burleson conversation, because that's what we came here for. So first things first, if we're going to know, or if we're going to do the math and figure out how much we need to earn in order to purchase in Burleson, first we need to understand how much it actually costs to purchase in Burleson. So the first place that we start with all of our breakdowns, all of our deep dives, we go to altos.re. Now this is a website that is free for you to use. You just have to go here and type in the city that you're interested in. And the reason that we go here first, again, is to get the numbers that we're going to need. But beyond that, it does a really good representation of what the real estate market is doing right now. This gives you real life information of what's happening at the present moment. So you don't have to go to all these other websites to try to piecemeal together a few things that are meaningful for you. So you see the median list price, you see the average days on market, you see the inventory, you see what the market is currently doing. So it gives you a 5-year breakdown of where the market has been. So again, we're speaking on Burleson specifically. So as you can see, in 2019, homes were about $310,000. Now, when they hit their peak here towards the end of last year, they were around $425,000, and things have cooled down slightly to where they're about $414,000 on average. Now, this is a good graph just to have a visual cue, but the real reason that we're here is the market segments that it gives you. So let me zoom in a little bit more. The reason I like the market segments is because it breaks down to the different types of properties that you're going to end up searching for. So oftentimes, whenever you're looking for a property, regardless of the city, and again, in our case, we're talking about Burleson, you have an idea of the size that you need. You have an understanding of the rooms that you're going to need for your family. There's a really good understanding of what you're going to actively need. Now, when you go to, let's just say, oftentimes whenever we get calls from individuals that are moving into the area or considering moving into Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, they're looking for a 4-bed and something above a 2-bath. So either 4-bed and 2.5 or 4-bed and 3-bath. That's typically what is asked for. So this gives you a good understanding of, if that was you, if you were looking for a home that's roughly 4 beds and over 2 baths, well, you're going to see the average square foot size, and also you're going to see roughly the budget that you're going to need in order to purchase in Burleson. So this gives you a really good understanding on, hey, if I am looking for a 4-bed and I'm looking for 2.5 bath and I need at least 2,500 square feet, can I purchase in Burleson? Is that feasible? So if you happen to, have a budget of $450,000, then yeah, the answer is yes. Now, this type of home, let's just say in Frisco, well, that average price is probably going to be around $680,000. So that way you get a really good benchmark on, hey, is this city a city that I can actually purchase in? It gives you a really good understanding. Let's see, comment section. I'd love to move to Burleson, but the great schools rating is way lower than where I live in Texas. Where do you live in Texas right now? Where do you live in Texas right now? So one thing that I suggest, while Great Schools is a phenomenal place to go to get some research, niche.com is also another great place to go to do some research. Go to the city itself specifically and see what type of information they have. And really what I recommend folks that are considering moving into the area and are a little bit uncertain about the ISDs, call the principal right up. Call the superintendent right up. Call the folks are so happy to actually speak to somebody that is considering moving into the area, as opposed to having conversations with parents that might have some kids that got in trouble. So that's one of the things that I encourage you to do. Oh, that's right. I remember you, Lubbock. That's right. Yeah. I still would move to Lubbock. All things considered, I would still move back to Lubbock. Lubbock is my jam. But I digress. We're not talking about. I might do a Lubbock breakdown, even though it's outside of the DFW jurisdiction, if you will. But Lubbock is cool. All right. So with that being said, we have our parameters here. The way that we start breaking down our analysis is we're looking for 4 beds and a little bit over 2 baths. In this case, 2.5 bath is going to be enough. So what we're shooting for is $452,000. That's the amount that we're trying to hit. Now, can we purchase a home for less than that? Of course. You see that right here in the smaller home, 3 beds, 2 baths. You can purchase a home in Burleson for about $300,000. In fact, I just came from Burleson. That's where I went to Mass for Easter. So you can purchase a home for under $300,000. In fact, for $200-something thousand. I recognize that. But for our needs, what we're looking to do is this $450,000 for $452,000. I'm going to show you how to get to this math, because for you, it's just going to be so easy. All you have to do is go down to the comment section down below, get access to the same tool that I'm going to show you right now, and just plug in your numbers. It's going to be super simple to use. Now, before we do that, let me show you the type of home that we can purchase for $452,000 in Burleson. That way you get a visual of the home that we're speaking on. Boom, boom, boom. Give you an idea of what we're talking about. Let's just say 400. We'll even undershoot it. We'll just go straight up below 450, because you're gonna be pleased. You're gonna be pleased at the result. So here, let me move myself for a quick second and zoom in. Now, we're not going to go into each one of these properties. I just want to give you a visual of the type of home that we're talking about. So for $400,000, you see it's 2,600 square feet, 4 bed, 3 baths. So as you saw in the market segments, those were averages. Of course, averages come from some on the higher end, some from the lower end, and that's how you get to an average. But this gives you a good visual of the type of home that you can purchase for the price that we're talking about. In fact, you have what seems to be new construction over here, which it is new construction. A D.R. Horton home right here, a DHI home right here. I can just tell based off of the whoa, what's this? Based off of the facade, D.R. Horton home right here. Cool. Good looking properties. A lot of new construction, as you can see, for under $450,000. And check out this new construction right here. 2,100 square feet, 4 beds, 2 baths. Awesome blossom. All right, well, that's enough of that. Let's get into some math. Again, our number here that we're trying to shoot for is $452,000. Now we get into math mode. This is linked down below, so make sure that you're following along to do your own breakdown with your own numbers. I'm just going to show you what we're doing today. And today we're doing Burleson at $452,000. You saw our previous video was on Arlington. So if you're considering Arlington, now would be a great time. Well, not now, after you watch this video, you could go and check out Arlington there. All right, so for our breakdown today, we're going to start off with 5% down, but let's start talking about some loan payments. Let's start talking about some types of loans is a better way of saying that. Primarily, you can purchase a home either through cash, essentially you're not requesting a loan from any place, or getting a loan. And primarily, there's going to be 4 types of loans that you're going to be eligible for. One is going to be a conventional loan, which generally requires a bit stronger credit score. And the minimum that you can put down on a conventional is 3% down. You're going to have an FHA loan. That FHA loan, you don't need as much of, you do need strong credit, but you don't need as strong of a credit when it comes to FHA loans. The minimum down payment that you have, the minimum down payment on FHA is 3.5%. Now, the other two types of loans, those one of them is dependent on you. If you are a veteran, if you served in some capacity, then you're eligible for what's called a VA loan, Veterans Association, the VA loan. Now, that's dependent on you. Now, there's another type of loan that's dependent on the property and where it is, and that's a USDA loan. A USDA loan has to do where that property happens to be. So not all properties are eligible for USDA loans. Just to give you a very, very quick breakdown. All right, see the comment section. Burleson seems great to me. I have family who lives in an apartment in Dallas, and we love the city when we visit. In fact, I'm in Dallas right now, yet I don't know about Fort Worth. I can't see that last comment. We haven't been. So if you like Burleson, from what I'm hearing, Crowley is also great. Crowley is great. Saginaw is a really good city as well. That's where I'll be purchasing an investment property here shortly. I like the Tarrant side of town. In fact, all of my rentals are in the Tarrant side of town. So I sold my Denton and I've only had properties in Denton and in Tarrant counties. Sweet. So for our purposes today, we're going to go with 5% down. Now, you don't need to do 5%. You can, depending on the property, depending on the loan that you get, you can go down to 3% or 3.5% down, or you can go up to 20% down if you so choose, or put way beyond that if you want as well. Now, the reason that you're probably hearing from friends, from family members, just from online to put 20% down is because the 20% down is a benchmark of where if you have 20% down on a property, you are avoiding what's called mortgage insurance. So if you put at least 20% down, mortgage insurance is something that you don't have to pay for the loan. And you'll see the breakdown of what that looks like here shortly. But for our purposes today, we're going to go with 5% down to have a reasonable number to get into. All right, so the second component, well, let's start talking about the mortgage right now. There's going to be four numbers that are important to you when it comes to a mortgage. One is a principal, how much you ask for, the loan that you take out, so how much you're borrowing. The second component is how much you're paying for that loan, which is going to come in the form of the interest rate. The interest rate is how much the bank is charging you for that amount that you borrowed. The third part that typically comes with that mortgage payment is that property tax rate, which I'm going to show you exactly where to go to find that right now. And then the fourth part is the home insurance. For the most part, those are going to be the four factors. Those are going to be the four numbers that are going to comprise your monthly mortgage payment every single month. For the most part, there's some exemptions, but I'll let you know what they are along the way. So for our purposes today, we need to understand, hey, what is today's mortgage rate? So you can click on that right there, or you could just go to mortgage rate today. And you have this breakdown. Now it's just going to give you an overview. Of course, once you submit your paperwork, once you start working with the lender, if you need help working with the lender, want to find our preferred lender, then check out the links down below. You're going to have some information there on who to go to. That way, you have somebody that you can trust. But for our purposes today, we're going to speak in general terms. So let's just get some averages out into the world. So we're going to say we're going to probably borrow around $400,000. We're going to do 5% down. And you see the numbers. Just keep your eyes fixed here. I'll articulate kind of what we're doing. Texas is we're borrowing the property, buying the property. And we're going to put a relatively decent credit score. We're going to put a moderate credit score of 720. And that's going to give us a 30-year fixed of 7.256. So we're just going to round down to 7.25. That is, we already have it, great. That is the 30-year on average, the 30-year fixed rate that we can expect today. Now, when you're watching this video, let's just call it in 6 months, in 6 years, whatever happens to be, it's going to be different. All you have to do again is just go to more, unless ChatGPT just completely takes over, then you're still going to go to Google and go to mortgage rate today and try to search to see what the mortgage rate happens to be at the point in time that you're looking to make this calculation. For the most part, most people get a 30-year fixed. That's what most folks get into, so we're not going to mess with that at all. Now, the property tax rate, this is one of the more complex issues. This is something that this video alone is going to pay that price of admission in the understanding of how to use this property tax, how to get to this property tax rate, because understand one thing, property taxes in Texas are among the highest in the country. So property tax rates are a little bit different than if you're coming from California, if you're coming in from Kansas, if you're coming in from anywhere else. Property taxes in Texas are different. We'll put it that way. It's the 6th highest property tax rate in the country, where New Jersey is number 1. So property taxes, don't sleep on property taxes, because they never go away. Whether you own the property outright or you have a loan on it, you're paying property taxes, and chances are you're paying thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in property taxes per year. So this is why we need to spend some time and understand really where to go to get this number and understand how this is going to affect us. So for our purposes today, since we're talking about Burleson, again, everything we talk about today is Burleson. Burleson, Burleson, Burleson. Just keep that in mind. So what we're doing now is we're going to go to Burleson property tax rate. So just going straight to Google. And now we're going to try to find what the property tax rates are in the city of Burleson. All right, so we're going to need to do a little bit of math, but I'm going to show you how to build this up. All right, so city of Burleson. There. Do we have? I think that's it. We have the JUCO here. Okay, they added them together. Cool. Okay, let me just back out over here. Well, can we do this? All right, I think it's best if I show you on screen. Okay, so here's what we got. Here's what we have to do. This isn't the cleanest, but I appreciate them actually being upfront and sharing with you the numbers that are going to actually go into this calculation. So let's start off with understanding property taxes in the macro. If you live in DFW, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and surrounding areas, there's 3 taxes that you cannot avoid that all have to do with property taxes. It's all going to be added together. So think of these as components that add up to the property taxes that you're going to do, you're going to have due yearly. You're going to have your city tax. So if you live in Burleson, Arlington, Mansfield, Fort Worth, whatever, you have your city tax. Then you have your county tax. So if you live in Tarrant County, which this will factor that in here shortly, Tarrant County, Denton County, Collin County, Dallas County, that's the second tax. So depending on the county that you happen to live in, that you happen to purchase in. And the third part is the ISD, the independent school district that you find yourself in. So whether that's Burleson ISD, Crowley ISD, and on, right? And you're going to see exactly how we get to that. I just want to share with you the nuts and bolts before we actually go and just pull up those numbers. Because as you can see, if you didn't have this understanding before we get into this, this can get very confusing very, very quickly, because it did confuse me for years and years. Those are the 3 that you're going to have always: city, county, ISD. Now the other 2, there's going to be 2 additional ones that oftentimes come up. Either 1 comes up or 2 comes up, but it's very rare that you don't have at least one of these 2 comes up. And that's going to be your higher education. So think of it like community college. And there's going to be a hospital network, a hospital system. One of those 2 is going to come up. Oftentimes it's going to be 1, but it's becoming more and more frequent that both of them come up. So essentially you're going to be paying on five distinct rates, but again, they all add up. So city, county, ISD, higher education, and the health network. So health hospital network, think of it that way. So in cities, you might find 5 of those numbers that you need to add up. And in fact, this is one of them. So I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So city of Burleson, your tax rate, this is the first one that we're talking about, is 0.6859. That is one part. Now depending on the county that you're in, because Burleson actually goes into multiple counties, if your property is in Johnson County, you're going to add this number. Now, look at the difference here. This is such a really good. Oh, this is really good. I'm going to use this as an independent video because it's going to really help illustrate the point. Now, if you live in Johnson County, that your property happens to be in Johnson County, you're paying this rate. Now, if your property happens to be in Tarrant County, you're paying this rate. So look and see what the differences are. Even at a water district, that doesn't always happen. But what will happen most of the time are these two rates that I was talking about, the higher education and the hospital network. So in this case, you have both of those that you need to contend with, plus the county rate. So that's what your total taxes are going to be if you live in the Tarrant County side. So again, this water district, it's rare that this comes up, but since it's here, we have to include it. So if you live in Johnson County, if you will, you're paying that. Now, if you're in Tarrant County, you're going to be paying this, but you're also going to be paying into the hospital and the higher education. If you lived in Johnson County, you wouldn't have the hospital district and you wouldn't have the junior college tax as well. So there you're saving 0.35, right? I'll make sense of this, I promise. I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So for our purposes today, we're going to go with the higher number. We're going to say that we have the city, and we're going to add in the county, higher education, and the hospital network. So we're going to add this. So we're going to add these together. Again, the water district is not always the case, so we're going to add it. It's not that terrible anyway. So we're going to add it to this number over here. That's 1.29, right? Now, your biggest portion of the property tax is going to come in the form of the ISD, the independent school district, because remember, there's 5 components that oftentimes come up: your city, the county, and the ISD. We already accounted for the higher education and the hospital network. Now we're adding the ISD. And depending on where you are living in, what ISD you belong to, there's different rates. So if you live in Crowley, to pay off that massive football stadium that was just built last year, which is right there, I can literally see it. It's you're paying a higher tax than if you were in Joshua, than if you're in Alvarado. And Burleson is just a little bit higher than that. So depending on where your independent school district is, you're either going to go into Burleson or into Crowley, primarily if you're in Burleson. So here, just add either one of these. So we were already carrying 1.2, what was it? I added this plus this, that was 1.29. Now we're adding, let's say, we'll add Burleson here, 1.29, that's 2.71. Is that right? $2.71. That's where we get the property tax rates. All right, now I know I said a lot. I know I took a lot to you right now, and hopefully everybody's on the same page here. This is important because if you're paying 2.5, if you just look at your property taxes, if you're paying 2.71% yearly for property taxes, you're looking at a little bit over $1,000 a month. That's how important these are. So that's why I want to make sure that everybody understands how property taxes work here in Texas, because even when you pay off your entire mortgage, you're paying property taxes for the life that you own that property. So it's important that you do that. that. Have an understanding of that. Now, there are ways to reduce property taxes. I'll just go ahead and share about that. Share a little bit about that now. You can apply a homestead exemption. So if you live in that property at the first of the year, you can apply to what's called a homestead exemption, which reduces the assessed value that you're going to be paying taxes on. So if you buy a property for $452,000, chances are that in the county's eyes, that's actually not even $452,000 to begin with. Chances are you're paying assessed value of $380 or so if the previous homeowners did a good job in contesting and protesting property taxes. So they're not getting taxed on the entire bill. So chances are, even though that this is the market value, your assessed value is different. So off of that $380,000, you can knock off another $50,000 in homestead exemption. So essentially, you're not paying as much in property taxes. That's another way to reduce your property tax burden and liability. So always be protesting property taxes and make sure that you have your homestead exemption or any other exemptions that you qualify for. If you are above 65 years old, you have an exemption waiting for you. If you have a disability, you have an exemption waiting for you. There's a lot of exemptions that you are eligible for, but you just may not know it. So just go to the Tarrant County or Johnson County or whatever county you happen to live in and research there. With that being said, I know you didn't come here for a property tax lesson, but I think it's so important. I spend so much time in all these breakdowns because that is the biggest slap in the face that a lot of people just are not ready for, right? So you generally know what's expected with a home purchase. Hey, this is what they're asking for. I think I understand this whole loan thing. I know what interest rates are. But then when you get met with the property taxes and how much you have to pay, that wakes you up 100%. All right, so that fourth component of your mortgage, remember the principal, how much you borrowed, the interest, how much you're paying on that loan, or how much you're paying on how much you borrowed, property taxes, which we just did a very I'd like to think it was good, but you might not think so. But we did a very good breakdown on property taxes to give you a full understanding what they look like. Now we're looking at the home insurance. So home insurance is something that, regardless if you have a loan on it or not, I highly encourage that you have home insurance. Now, if you have a loan, the bank is going to give you no option. You need to have home insurance on that. Now, once you pay off that property, it's up to you. If you want to not pay home insurance any longer, then you don't have to, but I always recommend that you do because you never know what might happen. So what we typically do is just times the home value and times it by 0.75% for the year to give us a realistic expectation of how much we're paying in property taxes. Now, in the next, not property taxes, for our insurance premiums. In the next tab, I'm going to show you the entire breakdown so you see the numbers firsthand. Yearly HOA. In Burleson, since there is a lot of new construction about of all the new construction that goes up, 80% of it's going to have an HOA. So chances are, if you buy a new home in Burleson, you're going to be an HOA. Now, $300 is reasonable for this type of property, but we could bump it up a little bit just to give us a little bit of a safety net on what we can expect to pay. Now, this is a yearly thing. This is yearly, so it's something that actually doesn't come in with your monthly mortgage payment. This is something that you pay at the beginning of the year in January. So this is oftentimes, if we don't budget for this, another big surprise. Another big surprise. So after Christmas out of the way, make sure you save a little bit of money or use your Christmas money to pay the HOA fees, because if you don't pay those HOA fees, trust that you will at some point. Trust that you will at some point. HOAs, I know how people feel about HOAs. In a way, I feel the same way. HOAs have power. They could put liens on your property. Things can get a little bit wonky. So just pay your whatever yearly fee it is and go on about your day. Don't mess with them. They're like the mafia. All right, so let's get into the actual numbers. Now, again, this is linked down below. Make sure you check that out. But what we need to do is we need to get to this number, right? We now know how much we're putting down. We understand the interest rate, at least for today, what's happening on average. We know what the property tax is. We went specifically to the city itself, and they told us. And we, for the most part, know what home insurance is going to be. Now we need to input how much we're making. Are we making $80,000? Are we making $1 million? Whatever it happens to be, put in your yearly income. For our purposes today, just because this seems, we'll put 90,000. We'll start 90,000. Let's see what that looks like. We'll put $90,000 as our yearly income. Now, if you have a co-borrower or somebody else that's going to be approved on that loan or is going to be named on that loan, you're going to put them here. Now, any debt that you have, you're going to put the name of the debt here, and you're going to put the amount over here. So if you have any car loans, student loans, credit card payments, anything that constitutes debt, and this does a really good job of breaking that down, you're going to input that information here. Now, this tool, again, is linked down below. And this tool comes to us courtesy of Win the House You Love by Kyle Seagraves. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. I encourage you to check it out because it does all of the math for you. And it's so spot on. It's something that we use internally here when we do our buyer discovery calls with all of our clients from all across the country. So we're making $90,000. And for our purposes today, we're not going to put some debt. If you have car loans, if you have student loans, credit card loans, whatever the case may be, add them here. It's something that you can do on your end. But for our purposes, let's just keep it clean. I already gave you so many different things to consider up here that I don't want to muddy the waters any more than I need to. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to that third tab and we're going to see what that breakdown looks like. All right, so our affordability dashboard. Let's zoom in here just so we can do the breakdown real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Okay. Let me explain this max price thing. Then we're going to go down here and then I'll explain what these numbers are. So what this calculator is designed to do is designed to give you the most that you can purchase and it's a property for based off of your income, based off of your debt obligations, based off of the amount that you put down, the mortgage rate, and all the factors that a lender is going to look at. Is designed to do that, but it takes it one step further. This calculator is designed to give you a risk tolerance or help you give you a risk level on if you make a certain amount of income, you have a certain amount of debts, and based off of the scenario, this is how much you can realistically borrow, assuming a certain risk level. So if it's a conservative risk level, which is the suggested that we give, it's $210,000. Now you may be thinking, well, Jaime, if I make $90,000, how am I only qualified for $210,000 for a $210,000 home? Well, you can get qualified for a heck of a lot more than that. But do you want to? Because if you go to a car dealership, they're going to sell you a car. If you go to a lender, they're going to sell you a loan. And the higher that loan is, the more that they make. If you go to a realtor, if you go to my people, we're going to sell you a house. So that's why it's important for you to know where you are. And that's why we give you this information. That's why we give you these tools so you can make this decision for yourself and not get carried away with, I can qualify for an $800,000 house. Okay. That was actually one of my biggest mistakes I'm probably oversharing now, but that was actually one of my biggest mistakes early on, where I was qualified at that time. My first house was $500,000 and I was qualified for $500,000. So I took that opportunity. And in hindsight, that was really not the best decision for me to make, because on top of that, I actually got a 15-year loan on it, which means that I was paying a lot more every single year than I needed to based off of where I was. So anyway, I was going to continue going down the rabbit hole. Let's continue going down here. Give you different risk levels here. Oh, I missed a chat. I'm sorry. Your channel is exemplary. I love how comprehensive and straightforward your videos are. Keep grinding and hope you enjoy much success. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can I show this? There we go. Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate you. All right. So down here, you're going to have various risk levels. So depending on your risk profile, depending on your risk tolerance, this is where you can go. As mentioned, you get the conservative things shown right up here. You can qualify for way more than that. You can qualify for up to $300 and almost $50,000. Now, simply because you can, again, should you? That's up to you to decide. But beyond that, let's take it one step further. If you're going to qualify for the risky, like the super risky, where over 60% of your income is going towards your mortgage payment, if you're going to qualify for that, be careful. Here's why. One, in order to qualify for this type of loan, your credit score needs to be pristine. Like you are the model of credit scores. You're the absolute phenom of credit scores. So so it's extremely challenging to do, right? But anyway, so be careful from that standpoint. Make sure that you have a credit score that it can actually qualify you for this type of loan. The second thing you need to be aware of, and really why I spend so much time in the property tax rate, is because of property taxes. Look and see how much the principal and the interest, both the principal and the interest, actually amount to. And that's just for this type of loan. I'm going to show you the breakdown on the other, on what it would actually be. So let me get to that number real quick. So for our purposes today, we like to get the aggressive, this right here, to the number that we need, which is $452,000. We haven't lost the plot, then I can go back and color in the lines. So let's just say we make $110,000, or in this case, if it's a dual income, you can just add them together or do $50,000 and $60,000. It'll come out to the same number. All right, so we're still a little bit short of where we need to be. So if we make $110,000 as a household, we're still going to be a little bit short. So let's just say if we made $125,000, could we afford that type of home? We can. So let me bump it down to 120. There we go. We're going to keep it at 120. So officially, for the metrics that we're trying to hit, if we're trying to buy a home in Burleson, Texas, on the basis that we need a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, over 2,500 square foot, which is going to cost us about $452,000, we can purchase a home in Burleson, assuming a 5% down, 7.25% interest rate under a 30-year mortgage with the property tax rate of 2.71 and the insurance being about 0.75% of the entire loan. Assuming all of that, we can purchase a home making $120,000 based off of this scenario. So can we purchase? Can you run into situations where you don't make $120,000 and still purchase a home in Burleson? Of course. Can you also run into situations where you make $120,000 and not be able to purchase a home in Burleson? Of course. That's why I give you all of this breakdown so you can put in your specific numbers. Because let's just say the interest rate goes down it goes down significantly to 5%. Well, at that point, you could be making $80,000 and still qualify for that loan. Now, if the interest rate shoots up to 9 or 10%, then you're probably going to need $160,000, right? So there's so many different variables, so many different levels that if you pull one, it's going to affect it one way. If you pull the other, it's going to affect it the other way. But now you have the information in front of you, so you can see what that looks like. But let's go into a deeper level. So I need this number just to give you this breakdown. I need that number to be 450. So I'm going to manipulate, forget these numbers that I'm putting in right now. I just need to manipulate that number to get to, that's going to be close enough. So let's pretend this $450,000. I just needed that number to be that. So if we're going to borrow, let me rephrase that. If we're going to purchase a home for $450,000 in Burleson, making all of these assumptions still true. These are all true. Just forget that for a second because I just needed to make a number change. Our monthly mortgage payment is going to be about $4,400, a little bit over $4,400. That's going to include our principal and interest. Oh, let me back up. To purchase the home, we would look at $22,000 if we're going to do 5% down. Oops, no. If we're going to do 5% down. Our closing costs would be roughly $11,000. That's going to be the cost to pay title. It's going to be cost to pay the loan. It's going to be the cost to pay fees, the recording fees for the survey or the title, and all this other fun stuff. So out of pocket, basically, what you need to come to the table with, what needs to be in your Chase bank account or in your Wells Fargo account, wherever you bank, would be about $33,000, $34,000. That's what you would need to come to the table with at closing. Now, with that being said, what does your monthly mortgage payment look like? I haven't forgotten this little warning that I was giving you if you're going to try to qualify for a super risky loan. Principal and interest, you're going to know that from day one. Most likely you're going to get a fixed loan, a fixed interest rate. So you know what your principal is going to be on day one. You're going to know what the interest is going to be on day 8,000, whatever it happens to be. Everything it's already lined out on your amortization table. It down to the penny. It lets you know on year 5, on February, you're going to be making this payment, and this goes to your principal, and this goes to your interest. That math is already done. That's going to stay there come heck or high water. What's not going to stay there is this. Remember when we talked extensively on property taxes, how important it is that you understand what property taxes do and don't do. With property taxes, based off of the tax rate that we're in, assuming that this property stays the same in value and you're actually being taxed at that value, that's what you're looking at when it comes to property taxes today. Here's what's going to happen though. Your property value is probably not going to stay at that number. It's probably going to go higher. So when you see like when you see on the news like these folks that are being pushed out of their home, there's the gentrification and all this other stuff, like people going in and building condos, building and really putting in all these new homes like in downtown and all these coffee shops and stuff. The gentrification of Middle America is what they're saying. Well, what's happening is that the home values just explode. And in places like Texas, specifically like in Dallas, if you're looking at Dallas, if you're looking at downtown like Deep Ellum, if you're looking at Oak Cliff, if you're looking at those areas of Bishop Arch, not necessarily Oak Cliff, but Bishop Arch, which is in Oak Cliff, if you look at those areas, the home values and just property values altogether just skyrocket. So the individuals that were used to paying a certain amount in property taxes, well, now their home was worth $300,000. Now it's worth $800,000. So on paper, that's fantastic. They can sell and they're going to get that delta, right? If their home was $300,000, now it's worth $800,000. But what if they don't want to sell? What if they were being taxed at $300,000 for years? Well, regardless of whether you like it or not, your property tax is now being assessed at $600,000, twice as much, $700,000. So they're paying property taxes on that every single year. Doesn't matter if they sold it or not. So that's why you see yourself, if you're going to go out there and get into the super risky loan, a lender's going to lend. Remember that. A lender's going to lend, and I don't fault them. A realtor's going to realtor. Any type of individual that's in the profession, they will sell you what you're asking for. But sometimes we probably shouldn't be asking for that. Because here, when you're looking at property taxes, let's just say this property goes to $600,000, which is not unreasonable. You saw where property taxes were 5 years, or the home values were 5 years ago. They were $310,000 on average. And in a matter of 5 years, that average appreciated by 33%. So you're paying 33% more in property taxes. Can you sustain that? Is your income, if you're barely making it, is your income going to go up 33% in 5 years? Hopefully it does. But we know chances are it's not. Now, I know I'm preaching. This is getting very, very soapboxy. I'm sorry. But it just really, I stress this so much. It's probably because I'm very sensitive to it right now, because we get calls for people that have to get out of their home right now because of what I just mentioned. I don't want to sell, but I can't pay these property taxes. I haven't had a mortgage payment. This is what we get. I haven't had a mortgage payment in 5-10 years. I already paid off the property, but now I can't pay $20,000 a year on property taxes. I can't pay $10,000 a year. It is just, I cannot do this, so I just have to sell. I'm going to use whatever I have to either buy a smaller home or rent somewhere until, I check out. And these are the conversations that we have. So I understand that I'm being a little bit sensitive right now to it because of that. However, I want to make sure that everybody understands this part, because you may start your monthly mortgage payment, you will start your monthly mortgage payment at something like this, $4,400. But in 5 years and 10 years, your mortgage payment is not going to be $4,400. It's going to be $4,600, $4,800, $5,200. Just be aware of that. If nothing else, I'm not telling you to live how I live. I'm just, if nothing more than that, just understand where these numbers are gonna, where they affect you and where they don't. Home insurance, that the premium will also go up, not drastically as your property taxes will, but they will go up. Now, I say not drastically, and I'm gonna have to backtrack for a quick second. Homeowners insurance right now is a challenge, especially if you live in other states like California and Florida. You're starting to see that in some places in Texas. You're starting to see home insurers pull out of markets altogether. There's a lot of markets that will no longer insure a property in Florida. There's a lot of home insurance providers that won't insure in California. And in Texas, as we continue to grow and things like that, and it continues to be more expensive, then a lot of the specifically the smaller home insurance providers, they just can't sustain that. So home premiums will continue to go up. Mortgage insurance, that'll eventually go away. So if you do a conventional loan at 5% down, eventually, as you make payments, you will have 20% equity in the property that you own. And that mortgage insurance will go away eventually. Now, one big distinction, if you have an FHA loan, mortgage insurance does not go away ever. So for the life of that loan, you will have mortgage insurance. So just be cognizant of that. Now, that's assuming you didn't do 20% down. And then when it comes to the homeowners association, we just budget that in just so you don't get surprised at the beginning of the year with the homeowners insurance, association dues that you need at the beginning of the year. That's just budgeted in. So you're aware. Alrighty. I saw a chat come through. Let me see what we got, and then we can call it. Let me move this. I can't really read that. Oh, here we go. Wow, very few people talk sense on YouTube. Thanks for the metrics. I'm really enjoying this. Well, I appreciate that. That's kind. All right, crew. Well, I appreciate the heck out of you. Hopefully you found some value in here. Today I was a little bit more in my feels. I apologize on that, but again, it's property taxes are both my jam, that I enjoy teaching on that, but also I don't enjoy paying those. So I don't think anybody does. But more than anything, just be aware that those exist, of course. Once you get to these numbers and you understand these numbers, it's going to be so quick for you to make sense of all of this, and you're going to be able to Crowley, or is it Mansfield, or is it Arlington? No knock on Burleson. I love Burleson. I was just there, as mentioned. I was just there at Mass. And I'm going to be there tomorrow morning for my gym. I'm going to be back there for cryotherapy. This is a DFW issue. So for anywhere that you're looking to move into DFW, if we can support you in any way, just let us know. Our contact information is down below. Outside of that, I hope to see you on our next video breakdown, where we go into how much you actually need to earn to purchase in the following city. See you on the next one.